I'm John Arking. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow you. Following a letter from Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley, the conditions at the courthouse are, quote, likely not in compliance with Florida law for sheriff's operations. The ball's now in the county commission's court to find a permanent solution to the issue. The operations center in Bunnell was evacuated in June of last year over health concerns after more than 24 workers' compensations claims had been filed by employees alleging a variety of respiratory problems. The staff was then divided up between the courthouse and the sheriff's former administration building near the county jail. In his letter, Staley said that arrangement was supposed to only be for 90 days and that action must be taken swiftly to resolve a better interim solution. But since then, the building has been inspected, and the mold issue found to be something that could be mitigated. And Flagler County Commissioner Donald O'Brien was asked if there was any chance the sheriff would go back to the operations center.
In my mind, not yet, because we have not gotten the final test results yet from a couple of the different, in particular the CDC. So it may be that it gets occupied by maybe another department. I just don't ever see the sheriff going back in there for his operations. I think we've moved forward on that. He's going to go to Palm Coast for the majority of his operations. That's the plan at this point, and we're moving forward that way.
County Administrator Jerry Cameron has been looking into retrofitting the building on US 1 that was privately built with about $90,000 in county subsidies. But with no private tenant in sight, it could be possible to expand that building to suit the sheriff's needs. But Staley sees that as a waste of money, and Commissioner O'Brien is hoping an accommodation can be made to allow the sheriff to stay in the courthouse and not compromise the needs of the county clerk.
This portion of Flagler's Morning News brought to you by the Daytona Beach International Airport, Delta Airlines nonstop to Atlanta, and now nonstop service to New York City via American Airlines.
Meanwhile, the Flagler County Sheriff's Office moved its Palm Coast District 2 office from its Cypress Point Parkway location to North Old Kings Road. Due to the move, the Palm Coast District office was closed to the public Wednesday, but will reopen at 8 a.m. today. Sheriff Rick Staley said this will be the final temporary location of the Palm Coast District Office until the new Sheriff's District 2 Administration and Operations Center is completed behind the Palm Coast Library in the next 2 to 3 years. The Flagler County Board of Commissioners leased the space for the Sheriff's District 2 offices while the permanent building is being built. All other areas of the Sheriff's Office were unaffected by the move and operated as normal. A Flagler County woman was arrested for aggravated child neglect. With more, here's Tony Magoo.
On Monday, Flagler County Sheriff's deputies were serving a warrant at 67 Beechwood Lane in Palm Coast when they came upon 28-year-old Megan Moss, who was intoxicated and quite angry for being awakened by the homeowner and deputies. The homeowner went for a walk to attempt to defuse the situation, and Ms. Moss followed him, screaming at the top of her lungs and pulling on the homeowner. Then deputies heard the backsliding glass door of the residence slam shut and immediately heard a child cry out in pain. Deputy Smith rushed to the home and found a 2-year-old child who was bleeding from a severed thumb. The child was transported to the hospital where it was unclear whether the injury would cause permanent disfigurement. A warrant was issued for Moss's arrest. She was taken into custody the following day, charged with child neglect, with great bodily harm, booked into the Sheriff Perry Hall inmate detention facility, and it's now being held on an $8,500 bond. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Tony Magoo.
How do you tell parents about the HPV and that their kids could be vaccinated against it?
Health departments across the country are telling parents about the human papillomavirus and how it can cause up to 9 different cancers. Those with the Flagler County Health Department say the more students who have the HPV vaccine, the better. Gretchen Smith says that nationally, the CDC wants to see about 41% of boys 13 to 17 years old get their HPV vaccine by 2021.
Right now in Flagler County, only 30% of males in Flagler have received their HPV shot. And for females, they're looking for that same age group, an increase from 57% to 70%.
Smith said that while it is an option now,
a CDC promotional item says, if there was a vaccine against cancer, wouldn't you get it for your kids?
You can hear the full interview on the Free for All Friday podcast, available at the Flagler Radio app. Download the Flagler Radio app today. You can also hear Flagler Health Matters with Gretchen Smith on Saturday mornings at 11:30. Tomorrow, older kids are asking for the HPV vaccine. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm John Arking.